This is a short video explaining how to use Nmap to identify open ports on a vulnerable system. Please refer to the previous video for more details on Nmap. The main purpose of this video is to explain how to use the information from Nmap in combination with the CVE details website and the RFC search to help tackle your coursework. So we're going to run a port scan using Nmap in the Metasploitable virtual machine. We're going to run it against localhost, and we're going to run a basic SYN scan, it's lowercase s, and uppercase V for verbose output. So we'll get the versions of the software on the machine. We're using localhost because we're scanning against the loopback on the machine. So we could equally put 127.0.0.1. -P flag specifies the port, so we're specifying a range of ports, just the first 100. So if we run that scan, it will take a brief moment to complete. Okay, so the results have come back. So I'm going to briefly discuss how we can use the information that's presented here. So we can see there is a port number indicated, and we're going to look at the last one on the list, port 80. We look across for the service name, we've got HTTP. So the first task is to determine what HTTP is. If we go to the RFC page or the RFC editor, there are lots of RFC searches and whatnot about, and search for HTTP. It will return a result for Mr. Tim Berners-Lee, creator of the World Wide Web, part of the team that created the World Wide Web, and we can look at that RFC 1945, click through to see it in plain text, and you will get information about what HTTP is. That information is going to be a very high quality source. It's written by the original authors of the protocol while they were working at MIT, and you can look through the document and find out what that protocol does. To score top marks, you need to go into detail and explain what this text means in your own words. You can't copy and paste this text. You must make sure you reference it, and you must include an explanation of what that text means to you. You can also use other sources. You never use Wikipedia as a reference. However, you can use Wikipedia to help gain an insight into protocols. So if we do a quick search on HTTP there, you'll get a more simplified explanation of what HTTP is. Okay, so moving on and going back to our virtual machine, we've also been told what version the software is. So if we remember in the last lab, we said that services are pieces of software that run on servers and are connected to open ports. They listen for requests, and they send responses, typically in the client-server model. In this case, the server is running Apache 2.2.8. So if we just flick across to the CVE details website, would be my preference. CVE MITRE also provides details. There are lots of other websites, but this one is fairly straightforward to use. So if we do a quick search on Apache D2.2.8, we get a hit here that explains vulnerabilities associated with this Apache web server. So we click on the vulnerabilities, and it explains how they relate or what their impact is on confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Now, in order to score top marks in this unit, you have to work independently. So that means without my support, effectively. So for this task, for the independent part where you want to score top marks, I'm asking you to interpret what this means, and this is you're going to have to break this text down and figure out what the keywords are, and maybe do a search on those. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about how to do that, but I would say, if we're looking at remote attackers, in your description, you need to differentiate between local and remote attackers and define what remote attackers are. Some of these CVEs are going to be very complex and difficult to understand, others less so, but there's plenty to choose from on this machine because there are lots of vulnerabilities. So just to recap, your task for the coursework is to identify vulnerabilities for 2 of the services there. You can scan a different port range, you can scan more ports if you want to. Ideally, you'll describe vulnerabilities against 2 different services on there. You can, at a push, describe 2 vulnerabilities against the same service. It makes sense to spread those out a little bit.